Captain Zixandra's clawed fingers gripped the command chair as red warning lights bathed the bridge of her ship. The Void Talon shook under enemy fire. Her crew was dying, and time was running out. "Captain, shields at 30%, called her weapons officer, his voice tight with pain. Like all Kethmaran on the ship, dark veins were spreading across his gray skin. The plague was killing them slowly. Zixandra stared at the human space station floating before them. Prometheus 7 looked peaceful, its white metal hull gleaming against the black of space. But inside that station was their only hope. The humans had developed a cure for the plague that was destroying her people. They had to have it. "Begin the attack," she ordered. The first wave of Kethmaran fighters launched from the Void Talon. They moved fast toward the station, their weapons charging. Zixandra expected the humans to panic. Humans were supposed to be weak, primitive creatures who feared real warriors. She was wrong. The station's defenses came online with deadly precision. Energy shields flickered to life around the human station. Hidden weapon ports opened and began firing. The human weapons were not primitive at all. They were advanced, powerful, and accurate. One by one, her fighters exploded in bright flashes. The pilots never had a chance to escape. "What is happening?" Zixandra demanded. "Intelligence said they had weak defenses." "The humans have upgraded their weapons," her tactical officer reported. "These are military-grade systems, not research equipment." More of her ships died. The few fighters that made it to the station crashed into impenetrable shields. The humans were destroying her fleet without even trying hard. "Captain, we're losing too many ships," her first officer said. The plague spots were dark around his eyes now. He would be dead in days. "We should retreat." "No." Zixandra stood up from her chair. Her people were dying. Every day they waited, more Kethmoran died from the plague. "Prepare a boarding craft. I'm going myself." "Captain, that's too dangerous." "I'm not asking for opinions." She grabbed her energy rifle and headed for the door. "The humans have what we need. I'll get it." The boarding craft was small and fast. It slipped through the battle and attached to the station's hull. Zixandra and her best warriors cut through the metal wall and entered the human facility. The corridors inside were bright and clean, too clean for a military base. This really was a research station, but if it was just for research, why did it have such powerful weapons? They moved quickly through the halls. Human security forces tried to stop them, but Kethmoran warriors were stronger and faster. The humans fell back, leading them deeper into the station. That should have been a warning sign. Zixandra found the main laboratory. Inside, a human woman in a white coat was calmly destroying computer files. She was tall for a human with dark hair tied back. She didn't look afraid at all. "Stop!" Zixandra aimed her weapon at the woman. "Step away from that computer!" The human woman turned around slowly. Her eyes were calm and intelligent. "I'm Dr. Elena Vasquez. You must be the Kethmaran captain who's been attacking us. Give me the cure for the plague and no one else has to die." Elena tilted her head. "What plague?" "Don't lie to me, human. We know you have developed a cure for the sickness that kills my people. Our intelligence reports confirmed it." "Your intelligence is wrong." Elena's voice was steady. "There is no cure here because we didn't make the plague." Zixandra felt anger rise in her chest. "Lies! You will give me what I came for, or—" Alarms suddenly filled the air. New ships had arrived. Through the laboratory's window, Zixandra could see massive warships appearing from hyperspace. They were Galactic Council vessels, and they were targeting both the human station and her ship. "Captain!" Her communication device crackled. "Council forces are here." "They're ordering us to surrender!" Elena watched Zixandra's face carefully. "They're not here to help you, are they?" "The Council—" Zixandra's mind raced. The Galactic Council was supposed to support member species like the Kethmaran. Why would they attack now? Because they made the plague, Elena said quietly. They created it to kill your people. The words hit Zixandra like a physical blow. That's impossible. Is it? Think about it. The plague only affects Kethmoran physiology. It spreads slowly, giving the Council time to watch your people die. They probably told you humans had the cure to make you attack us. Outside, the Council ships were firing on the Void Talon. Zixandra's ship was badly damaged and couldn't fight back effectively. Why would they do this? Zixandra asked. Because your people ask too many questions. You explore too much. You discover things the Council wants to keep hidden. Elena moved closer, her hands visible and empty. We've been investigating the plague for months. It's artificial, created in Council laboratories. You have proof? I had proof. The files I was destroying contained evidence of the Council's involvement. If they capture this station, they'll destroy everything. Explosions shook the station. The Council forces were boarding now. Captain, we need to leave immediately. Her officer's voice came through the communicator. The ship can't take much more damage. Zixandra looked at Elena. Her world was falling apart. Her people were dying from an artificial plague created by their supposed allies. Her ship was being destroyed. And this human woman might be the only person who knew the truth. You're coming with me, she said, grabbing Elena's arm. Elena didn't resist. I figured you'd say that. They ran through the corridors as Council soldiers entered the station. Zixandra's remaining warriors fought to cover their escape. Most of them died buying time for their captain to reach the boarding craft. The small ship launched just as the station's main reactor overloaded. Elena had triggered the self-destruct before they left. All evidence of the Council's crimes was gone. Get us to the Void Talon, Zixandra ordered her pilot. But as they approached her ship, more Council vessels arrived. They opened fire immediately. The Void Talon tried to fight back, but it was outnumbered and outgunned. Jump to hyperspace, Zixandra commanded. The navigation systems are damaged, Captain. I can't control where we go. Then jump anywhere. Get us away from here. The Void Talon disappeared into hyperspace, carrying them toward an unknown destination. Zixandra sat in her chair, holding her human prisoner, and wondered if she had just saved her people or doomed them all. In the seat beside her, Elena stared out at the swirling lights of hyperspace and kept her thoughts to herself. The Void Talon dropped out of hyperspace near a world that made Zixandra's blood run cold. The planet below them was covered in swirling purple clouds and flashing with strange lightning. She knew this place from the charts. Every spacer in the galaxy knew about it. Zerion Prime, the Forbidden World. Captain, the engines are failing, her engineer reported. His voice was weak from the plague. We're being pulled into the gravity well. Can we break free? Not with the damage we've taken. We're going down. Zixandra looked at her human prisoner. Elena was studying the planet through the view screen with curious eyes, not fear. That should have been another warning sign. Do you know what that world is? Zixandra asked. Zerion Prime, Elena replied calmly. Quarantined by the Galactic Council. 17 exploration teams have been lost there. And you're not afraid? Elena shrugged. Fear won't change what happens next. The ship shook violently as it hit the upper atmosphere. The purple clouds burned with acid that ate through the hull. Lightning struck the ship again and again. Most of the crew was already dead from the plague, but the few survivors screamed as electrical energy surged through the corridors. Zixandra grabbed Elena and dragged her to an escape pod. Her two remaining soldiers, Kravek and Thorn, followed them. They were the last living members of her crew. The pod launched just before the Void Talon exploded. They fell through the purple clouds toward the surface below. Through the pod's small window, Zixandra could see a nightmare landscape. Twisted trees grew from poisonous marshlands. Strange creatures moved through toxic mists. Everything was wrong, like the planet itself was diseased. They crashed hard into the muddy ground. The pod's emergency systems immediately began warning them about the air outside. Atmosphere contains sulfur compounds. Radiation levels are dangerous. Toxic organisms detected, the computer announced. Survival time for Kethmaran physiology, estimated 6 to 8 hours. Zixandra felt her hearts sink. They were stranded on a world that would kill them in hours. Elena was already checking the emergency supplies. The air filtration masks will help for a while, she said, but we need to find shelter. The masks are designed for Kethmaran biology, Soldier Kravek pointed out. They won't work for you, human. Elena paused, looking at the masks. Then she made a decision that shocked them all. She opened the pod's door and stepped outside without any protection. "What are you doing?" Zixandra shouted. "The air will kill you!" Elena took a deep breath of the toxic atmosphere. Her eyes watered, and she coughed a few times, but she didn't fall down dead. "It tastes terrible, but I think I'll be okay." Kravek stared at her through his protective mask. "That's impossible. The atmosphere readings show lethal levels of toxic gases." "Lethal for you," Elena corrected. "Humans are different." Zixandra put on her own mask and stepped out of the pod. The air burned her lungs even through the filtration system. Every breath was painful, but Elena was walking around normally, examining the strange plants that grew in the poisonous soil. "This one is safe to touch," Elena said, pointing to a blue flower. "But that red moss will burn through your skin in seconds." "How do you know that?" Thorn asked. His mask was already showing warning lights. The filter was failing. "I can smell the chemical signatures," Elena replied. "Humans evolved on Earth, which was much more hostile than most worlds. We developed senses that other species don't have." As they walked away from the crash site, Zerion Prime revealed more of its horrors. The ground itself seemed alive, shifting and moving under their feet. Strange noises echoed from the twisted forests. In the distance, they could see mountains that glowed with radioactive light. Thorn collapsed first. His mask had failed completely, and the toxic air was burning his lungs. He tried to breathe, but only purple foam came from his mouth. "We need to help him," Elena said, kneeling beside the fallen soldier. "There's nothing we can do," Zixandra replied. Her own mask was showing yellow warning lights now. "The planet is killing us. Not all of us." Elena touched Thorn's forehead gently. "I'm sorry we can't save you." The soldier died within minutes. Kravek looked at his own mask readings and saw that he had maybe 2 hours left. "Captain, we should try to reach higher ground. Maybe the air is cleaner in the mountains." They climbed toward the glowing peaks, but the journey was torture for the two Kethmaran. Every step was painful. The radiation from the mountains made their scales itch and burn. Strange insects tried to bite them, and only Elena's warnings kept them from touching deadly plants. Elena, meanwhile, seemed to be getting stronger. Her human eyes could see paths through the poisonous mist that the Kethmaran couldn't detect. She moved with confidence, like she belonged in this nightmare landscape. "There's a cave ahead," she said, pointing to a dark opening in the mountainside. "It should provide some shelter." The cave was carved from black stone that absorbed light. It should have been dark inside, but Elena led them confidently through the tunnels. She could see in the darkness somehow. "How are you doing this?" Zixandra asked. Her mask was failing now, too. Red warning lights blinked constantly. "Humans see in more light spectrums than most species," Elena explained. "We also hear sounds you can't detect. This cave has good air circulation. You'll be able to breathe here without your masks for a while." Kravek removed his failed mask and took a careful breath. The air was still harsh, but it didn't burn his lungs immediately. "This is impossible. The atmospheric readings said this world was completely hostile." "Hostile to you," Elena said again. but not to humans. They found a larger chamber deeper in the cave. Strange crystals in the walls glowed with soft light. Elena examined them carefully. "These crystals filter the air naturally," she announced. "This cave is like a safe bubble inside the planet's toxic atmosphere." Zixandra sat down on the cave floor, exhausted. Her body was fighting the planet's radiation and losing. Dark spots were appearing on her scales, and she felt weak. "Why?" she asked Elena. "Why can humans survive here when no one else can?" Elena was quiet for a long moment. "Because we evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day for millions of years. Earth wasn't the peaceful garden that other species think it was. It was a death trap that forced us to adapt or die." "But the Galactic Council says humans are primitive." "The Galactic Council says a lot of things that aren't true." Elena looked out toward the cave entrance where the purple sky was visible. "They quarantined this world not because it's dangerous, but because they don't want other species to know that humans can live here." Kravek was getting sicker by the hour. The planetary toxins were in his bloodstream now, and his body couldn't fight them off. "Captain," he whispered, "I don't think I'm going to make it." Zixandra looked at her last remaining soldier and felt despair. They were stranded on a forbidden world with a human who seemed immune to everything that was killing them. She was supposed to be Elena's captor, but she was starting to realize who really had power in this situation. "What do you want from us, human?" she asked. Elena sat down across from her. "I want to survive, and I want to find a way off this world. But first, we need to understand what Zerion Prime really is." Outside the cave, something huge roared in the distance. The sound echoed through the mountains, promising that their ordeal was just beginning. Kravek died during the night. Zixandra woke to find her last soldier cold and still, his body finally giving up its fight against the planet's toxins. Now she was alone with her human prisoner in the depths of Zerion Prime. Elena was already awake, sitting near the cave entrance and watching the purple dawn. She had been eating some kind of local fruit for breakfast. The sight made Zixandra's stomach turn. "You're eating the planet's food," Zixandra said weakly. The radiation poisoning was making her feel sick. "It's actually quite nutritious," Elena replied, offering her a piece of the purple fruit. "Though I don't recommend it for Kethmaran biology." "How do you know it's safe?" "I can taste the chemical composition. This fruit has proteins and vitamins that humans need. Plus, it helps neutralize some of the atmospheric toxins." Zixandra stared at Elena. "You can taste chemicals?" "Among other things." Elena stood and stretched. "We need to find water and a more permanent shelter. This cave won't protect us from the deeper dangers of Zerion Prime." As they prepared to leave, Elena did something that made Zixandra question everything she thought she knew about humans. The cave entrance was blocked by a massive boulder that had fallen during the night. It would take industrial equipment to move it. Elena examined the boulder for a moment, then placed her hands against it and pushed. The massive stone slowly began to move. "That's impossible," Zixandra whispered. "That boulder weighs several tons." "Humans have a different muscle structure than most species," Elena said calmly as she continued pushing the rock. "We evolved to lift heavy objects and survive in high-gravity environments." The boulder moved aside, revealing the toxic landscape outside. Elena picked up a makeshift pack she had made from materials in the cave and started walking. "Wait!" Zixandra called after her. "Where are we going?" "There's a water source about 5 kilometers east of here. I can hear it." "You can hear water from 5 kilometers away?" "The sound carries differently in this atmosphere. Human ears can detect frequencies that Kethmaran ears can't pick up." As they walked across the poisonous landscape, Elena continued to demonstrate abilities that should have been impossible. She could see electromagnetic patterns in the air that warned of dangerous radiation zones. She could smell chemical traces that led them away from areas where the ground would collapse. Most disturbing of all, she seemed to be getting stronger and more alert the longer they stayed on the planet. "This world isn't trying to kill you," Zixandra realized as they climbed over a ridge of black stone. "It's feeding you." Elena paused and looked back at her. "Not feeding, exactly. But humans and worlds like Zerion Prime, we understand each other." "What does that mean?" "It means that your Galactic Council has been lying about more than just the plague." They reached the water source Elena had heard. It was a spring of clear liquid bubbling up from deep underground. Zixandra's instruments detected dangerous levels of heavy metals and radioactive particles in the water. "That will kill you if you drink it," she warned. Elena cupped some water in her hands and tasted it carefully. "It's actually quite pure once you get past the mineral content. My body can filter out the harmful elements." "Your body can filter radiation. Human kidneys and liver are much more efficient than most species realize. We evolved to process toxins that would kill other life forms." Elena filled their water containers while Zixandra tried to understand what she was seeing. Everything she had been taught about humans was wrong. They weren't primitive or weak. They were adapted to survive in conditions that would destroy any other known species. As they continued their journey, they encountered one of Zerion Prime's apex predators. The creature was 20 feet long with armor-like scales and teeth like energy blades. It emerged from the poisonous mist and charged directly at them. Zixandra raised her energy weapon, but Elena stepped forward instead. "Don't shoot," Elena said quietly. "Let me handle this." The monster stopped its charge just feet away from Elena. It sniffed the air around her, then made a strange purring sound. Elena reached out slowly and touched the creature's armored head. "It's not really a predator," Elena explained, as the monster rubbed against her hand like a giant cat. "It's a guardian. This species was created to protect something." "Protect what?" Elena looked deeper into the mist, where ancient structures were becoming visible. "That." The ruins were clearly artificial, but they were unlike anything in Galactic Council records. The architecture seemed to shift and flow like living tissue. The materials were metal and stone, but they pulsed with organic rhythms. "Who built this?" Zixandra asked. "The previous tenants," Elena replied, walking toward the ruins without fear. "Every world like Zerion Prime has them. The Council just pretends they don't exist." As they explored the ruins, Elena activated systems that had been dormant for thousands of years. Ancient machines responded to her touch, lighting up with soft glows. Holographic displays appeared, showing star charts and technical diagrams. "How are you doing this?" Zixandra demanded. "These machines are older than recorded history." "They're responding to human neural patterns," Elena said, studying the holographic displays. "These ruins weren't built by aliens, they were built by humans." The revelation hit Zixandra like a physical blow. "That's impossible. Humans only developed space travel 500 years ago." "Humans that you know about developed space travel 500 years ago," Elena corrected. "But humans have been traveling between stars for much longer than that." The holographic displays showed a galaxy-wide civilization that had existed thousands of years before the current Galactic Council. Ships that could travel between dimensions. Worlds terraformed to test the limits of biological adaptation. And at the center of it all, humans who were far more advanced than anything in the modern galaxy. "Where did they go?" Zixandra whispered. "They evolved beyond the need for physical existence," Elena replied. "But they left these worlds behind as testing grounds." "Testing grounds for what?" Elena looked at her seriously. "To see if their descendants could survive anything the universe might throw at them." Suddenly, the ancient systems detected something approaching from orbit. Ships were coming to Zerion Prime. Lots of them. Council forces, Zixandra said, recognizing the energy signatures. They've found us. Good, Elena said, her fingers dancing over the ancient control systems. It's time they learned what they're really dealing with. The ruins around them began to change. Defensive systems that had slept for millennia came online. The planet itself was preparing for war. Elena, Zixandra said quietly, what exactly are you? Elena smiled for the first time since they had crashed. I'm human, and you're about to see what that really means. Above them, the first council ships entered the atmosphere, not knowing they were flying into a trap that had been waiting for them since before their civilizations existed. The ancient defense systems activated with a sound like thunder. Energy barriers flickered to life around the ruins, and weapon platforms that had been hidden for thousands of years rose from the ground. But Elena was shaking her head as she studied the control displays. The planetary defenses are damaged, she said. They can hold off a small fleet for maybe an hour. But the Council is sending everything they have. How many ships? Zixandra asked. Elena's fingers moved over the ancient controls, accessing sensor networks that covered the entire planet. 47 warships, plus support vessels. They're not taking any chances this time. Zixandra felt her heart sink. Even at full power, one planet couldn't fight an entire council fleet. Then we're trapped here. Not necessarily. Elena was examining deeper system displays. There's something else down there, something much more powerful than these surface defenses. She pointed to a three-dimensional map that showed the planet's interior. Deep underground, below layers of rock and molten metal, something massive was waiting. The structure was enormous, easily the size of a city. The Crimson Depths, Elena read from the ancient text. A testing facility designed to push adaptation to its absolute limits. What kind of tests? The kind that only humans can survive. The council ships were getting closer. Energy beams began striking the planet's upper atmosphere, probing for weaknesses in the defense grid. They would find the ruins soon. We need to get down there, Elena decided. The real planetary controls are in the depths. How do we reach them? That's 50 kilometers underground. Elena smiled and pressed a control panel. A section of the floor slid away, revealing a shaft that descended into darkness. Ancient elevators waited to carry them down. The builders thought of everything. The journey down was like traveling to another world. As they descended through the planet's crust, the walls changed from stone to metal to something that looked almost organic. The air grew thicker and warmer, but somehow Elena breathed it easily while Zixandra had to use her emergency oxygen supply. The atmospheric mixture is changing, Elena explained. The deeper levels are designed for human physiology. But why would ancient humans build a facility that only modern humans could use? Because they knew their descendants would need it someday. They reached the Crimson Depths after an hour of descent. The name was accurate. Everything was bathed in red light that pulsed like a heartbeat. The walls were covered with organic-looking panels that responded to Elena's touch. This isn't just a facility, Zixandra realized. It's alive. Semi-alive, Elena corrected. It's a hybrid of technology and biology. The ancient humans were much more advanced than anything we have today. As they moved deeper into the facility, they encountered the first test. The corridor ahead was filled with energy fields that shifted and moved in complex patterns. Stepping into the wrong field would mean instant death. I can't see a safe path, Zixandra said, studying the deadly maze. Elena closed her eyes and extended her hands toward the energy fields. It's not about seeing, it's about feeling. She stepped into the maze without hesitation. The energy fields parted around her like she was magnetic. Where other species would have been destroyed instantly, Elena moved through the deadly barriers as if they weren't there. How? Zixandra breathed. Human neural patterns, Elena called back. The fields are programmed to recognize them. Zixandra followed carefully in Elena's footsteps, staying exactly in the safe areas her companion had mapped. They passed through 3 more testing chambers, each one designed to challenge different aspects of human adaptation. In one chamber, the gravity shifted constantly from one direction to another. Elena moved through it like she was dancing, while Zixandra could barely stay upright. In another, the air became so thick with toxins that it was like breathing liquid poison. Elena filtered it naturally through her lungs, while Zixandra had to hold her breath and move quickly. The final test was the most disturbing. The chamber was filled with machines that read the deepest thoughts and memories of anyone who entered. For most species, this mental intrusion caused madness or death. Elena walked through the scanning beams calmly, her mind somehow protected by natural human defenses. Your species is immune to psychic attack, Zixandra realized. Not immune, adapted. Humans evolved on a world where psychic predators were common. We developed natural mental shields. At the heart of the Crimson Depths, they found the true planetary control center. It was a vast chamber dominated by a massive organic computer that pulsed with life. When Elena approached it, the entire system lit up with welcoming signals. "Hello, descendant," a voice said in perfect human language. "We have been waiting." The voice belonged to an artificial intelligence that had been guarding the facility for thousands of years. As Elena interfaced with the system, downloading massive amounts of information directly into her mind, Zixandra began to understand the scope of what she was seeing. The ancient humans seeded dozens of worlds like this throughout the galaxy, Elena explained as data flowed between her and the computer. Each one was designed to test different aspects of human survival ability. But why hide it? Why let the Council think humans are primitive? Because humans learned that being underestimated is the best defense. The ancient civilization fell because they revealed their power too early. Their descendants decided to stay hidden until the time was right. Above them, the Council fleet was bombarding the surface with everything they had. But now Elena had access to Zerion Prime's true defenses. She activated systems that reached deep into the planet's core, drawing on geological forces that could reshape continents. "The Council ships won't know what hit them," Elena said. But as she prepared to activate the planetary weapons, Zixandra made an unexpected decision. She placed her hand over Elena's, stopping her. "Wait," she said. "Don't destroy them all." Elena looked at her in surprise. "Why? They're here to kill us." "Because some of them don't know the truth. My people, the Kethmaran, we're victims of the Council's lies just like humans are. If you destroy the entire fleet, you'll be killing species who could be your allies." Elena considered this. The ancient computer provided her with detailed scans of the Council fleet, showing which ships belonged to which species and what their true intentions were. "You're right," Elena admitted. "Some of them are here because they believe they're stopping a dangerous contamination. They don't know about the conspiracy. Together, they programmed the planetary defenses to target only the ships that belong to the Council's inner circle. The species who had created the plague and hidden the truth about humanity would face the full power of Zerion Prime. But the others would be allowed to escape and spread word of what they had seen. This partnership, Elena said as they worked together on the control systems, it could change everything. Zixandra nodded. Humans and Kethmaran working together. Maybe other species too. A new kind of galactic civilization. One based on truth instead of lies. The planetary weapons fired, sending beams of energy that could crack moons into space. The Council's inner circle ships were destroyed instantly. The remaining vessels fled in terror, carrying news of humanity's hidden power back to the galaxy. "What happens now?" Zixandra asked. Elena smiled. "Now we call for pickup. I think it's time for humanity to come out of hiding." She activated a communication beacon that would reach human space. But she also did something unexpected. She sent a message to the surviving Kethmoran ships, offering them sanctuary and alliance. "The galaxy is about to change," Elena said, "and we're going to be the ones leading that change." Above them, the first human rescue ships were already entering hyperspace, racing toward Xerion Prime to collect their people and their new alien ally. The human rescue fleet arrived 3 days later. 12 ships dropped out of hyperspace above Xerion Prime, led by the heavy cruiser Endeavor. Captain Maria Torres stood on the bridge, staring down at the forbidden world that had claimed so many lives. "Are you sure they're down there?" she asked her sensor officer. "Confirmed, Captain. 2 life signs in the ancient ruins. 1 human, 1 Kethmoran." "What's the status of the planetary defenses?" "Active but not targeting us. Someone down there has control of the weapon systems." Captain Torres nodded. She had received Elena's message explaining the situation. A human engineer and a Kethmoran captain working together to expose a galactic conspiracy. It sounded impossible, but the evidence was undeniable. On the planet's surface, Elena and Zixandra waited in the ruins as the human ships descended. The ancient facility had provided them with supplies and comfortable quarters during their wait. For the first time in days, Zixandra had been able to breathe clean air and eat food that wouldn't poison her. "Are you sure about this?" Elena asked as they watched the shuttles approach. "Once you leave with us, there's no going back. The Council will brand you a traitor." Zixandra looked at her hands, where the dark plague spots were already fading. The ancient facility's medical systems had cured the artificial disease that was killing her people. "My empire is dying because of the Council's lies. My choice is between being a traitor to them or a traitor to the truth. The truth isn't always easy to live with." "No," Zixandra agreed, "but it's better than living with lies." The first shuttle landed near the ruins. Captain Torres emerged, flanked by armed Marines. She approached Elena and Zixandra cautiously, her hand near her weapon. "Dr. Vasquez," she said formally, "you've been missing for 6 days. We feared the worst." "I'm fine, Captain, but we have a situation that's bigger than my rescue." Elena quickly explained everything they had discovered. The artificial plague designed to eliminate species that asked too many questions. The ancient human civilization that had spanned the galaxy. The testing worlds hidden throughout Council space. The conspiracy to keep humanity contained and underestimated. Captain Torres listened with growing amazement and horror. "Do you have proof of these claims?" Elena activated a portable display unit that projected holographic evidence from the ancient computers, medical data about the plague, records of the Council's secret meetings, maps showing dozens of other worlds like Xerion Prime. "This information could start a war," Torres said quietly. "The war already started," Zixandra interrupted. "The Council has been fighting it for years. They just made sure only they knew it was happening." As they talked, more ships began arriving. But these weren't human vessels. A fleet of Kethmoran cruisers dropped out of hyperspace, led by a massive dreadnought. The human Marines raised their weapons, but Elena stepped forward. "Let them land," she said. "They're here because of the message I sent." From the Kethmoran flagship, a shuttle descended carrying Admiral Thex Nera, Zixandra's superior officer. The Admiral was old for a Kethmoran, her scales gray with age, but her eyes were sharp with intelligence. "Captain Zixandra," she said as she approached, "you stand accused of treason against the Kethmoran Empire and the Galactic Council. Surrender yourself for judgment." "I stand accused of discovering the truth," Zixandra replied. "Will you hear what I have to say?" "The Council has ordered your immediate return, along with the human you kidnapped." Elena stepped forward. "I wasn't kidnapped, Admiral. I chose to stay with your captain when I learned what we were facing." Admiral Thex Nara looked between Elena and Zixandra suspiciously. Explain. For the next hour, Elena and Zixandra presented their evidence to both the human and Kethmoran officers. They showed the proof of the artificial plague, the records of the Council's conspiracy, and most importantly, the cure that the ancient facility had provided. This medical data, Admiral Thex Nara said slowly, it shows how to neutralize the plague completely. Not just neutralize it, Elena corrected. Cure it permanently. Every Kethmoran who receives this treatment will be immune to future biological weapons. The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. Around them, human and Kethmoran officers waited tensely for her decision. This moment would determine whether their species went to war or found a path toward alliance. The Council lied to us, the Admiral finally said. They told us the plague was natural, that humans were withholding a cure out of spite. They've been lying about many things, Elena replied, including what humans are really capable of. As if to demonstrate her point, Elena activated the planetary defense systems again. Ancient weapons that could destroy fleets powered up around the ruins, but they remained pointed harmlessly at the sky. These weapons have been here for thousands of years, Elena explained, built by humans who wanted to leave something for their descendants. The Council has been trying to keep us away from worlds like this because they know what we might find. Admiral Thex Nara made her decision. Captain Zixandra, I am placing you under my personal protection. Your actions on this world will be reviewed by a tribunal of Kethmoran officers, not Council representatives. Thank you, Admiral. Dr. Vasquez, Captain Torres said, we need to get this information back to Earth immediately. The President will want to see this evidence. Actually, Elena said with a smile, I think we should do something more dramatic than that. 3 hours later, every major communication network in the galaxy received the same transmission. Elena and Zixandra appeared together on screens across hundreds of worlds, presenting their evidence to billions of viewers. They showed medical proof of the artificial plague. They demonstrated the ancient human technology that could cure it. Most importantly, they revealed the scope of the Council's deception and the true reason why certain worlds had been quarantined. The reaction was immediate and explosive. On Kethmoran worlds, citizens demanded answers about why their government had hidden the truth. On human colonies, people began asking how many other ancient sites were waiting to be discovered. Across the galaxy, species that had been marginalized by the Council started speaking up about their own experiences with discrimination and deception. The Galactic Council tried to suppress the transmission, but it was too late. The truth was spreading faster than they could contain it. Standing together in the ancient ruins of Zerion Prime, Elena and Zixandra watched the galaxy begin to change. Human ships were already en route to other quarantined worlds, ready to uncover more secrets. Kethmoran medical ships were carrying the plague cure to every infected world. What do we do now? Zixandra asked. Now we build something new, Elena replied. A galactic civilization based on cooperation instead of domination, truth instead of lies. It won't be easy. The Council won't give up their power without a fight. Elena looked up at the purple sky where human and Kethmoran ships were working together, sharing resources and knowledge. That's okay. Humans are good at fighting when we need to, and now we have allies. An alliance of outcasts and rebels? An alliance of species who believe the galaxy can be better than it is. 6 months later, Elena and Zixandra stood together on the command deck of the exploration vessel, New Horizon. The ship was a joint human Kethmoran design, the first of many collaborative projects between their species. They were approaching another quarantined world, ready to uncover whatever secrets it might hold. Behind them, representatives from a dozen other species worked together, all united in their desire to discover the truth about the galaxy's hidden history. "Contact ahead," the sensor officer reported. "Ancient structures detected on the surface." Elena smiled. "Take us down. Let's see what our ancestors left for us this time." As the new horizon descended toward another forbidden world, Elena reflected on how much had changed. The galaxy was no longer controlled by a few powerful species who hoarded knowledge and suppressed the weak. It was becoming something new, something better. A place where humans and aliens could work together as equals, exploring the infinite possibilities of a universe that was far stranger and more wonderful than anyone had ever imagined. The age of secrets was ending. The age of discovery had begun.